Hi, this is Black Krishna, or BK, for manfowars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids to look, talk, and feel great, and to help us all locally discuss and share great online info offline as nice, helpful people making better people and places to live. So this is to beat a lot of online censorship, digital ghettos, people talking to like minds, and so on. We can reach out offline with classic meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, flyers, and more. It's been done, and it's better than just protesting, which a lot of other people don't like. Instead, pissed off patriots can reach out to confused civilians, let them know what's going on, and good to go. And that's how a lot of good things are done as people get wiser and they get better politicians in who get better policies, and you have better leadership and better places to live. So simple stuff. See manforwars.com for more on that. But this video is called Why Jeffrey Epstein is Probably Still Alive. Why Jeffrey Epstein is probably still alive. Now, I know there's all sorts of stuff out there about Jeffrey Epstein and so on. World's most famous pedophile, supposedly killed himself in a New York jail, and and then the big debate became: did he kill himself or was he killed? Did he kill himself or was he killed? Did he kill himself or was he killed? And I'm saying that may be a trap, like many other traps out there, and I'll explain why. So, first of all, as soon as he died, because I followed this story closely because I understand, it's evil, hate pedophiles in charge, and so on, hate rich, powerful, evil pedophiles as a nationalist versus globalism. I think it's a real key to waking everybody else up, because if you're like, well, there's always been good people and bad people, it's like, no, no, no. The people there are really bad. Don't trust them. Don't trust those people. If you understand, how rampant pedophilia is at the highest levels of the elite, if you understand it's a tool they use to corrupt, bribe, and blackmail people, to bring them into this sick club, to make sure they do the worst thing possible so they can do other bad things. Like if you'll have sex with this kid, then you'll put that chemical in Coca-Cola and it'll give people cancer. But hey, you're already having sex with kids. Why is that so bad, right? So it's a tool that they use, right? Plus, it also binds them together. They're all evil, worshiping Satan, blah 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 blah, right? Um, anyway, but as soon as he died, the mainstream media promoted that everywhere, right? They promoted the fact that Epstein, killed himself, and then other people were like, "There's no way he killed himself. He killed himself. There's no way he killed himself." That was the main sort of talking points coming out initially, right? No, Hillary Clinton killed him. No, he killed himself. No, how could the TV cameras not work? How could the wardens not, or how could the jail guards not check on him? Why was he in his cell by himself, right? Did he have the right equipment to be able to kill himself, right? And so on, right? And then after the autopsy, right? After the autopsy, his body was picked up by an unnamed relative and quickly scooted away, right? And possibly cremated, right? And this happened. There was news stories about this. Yep, Epstein did the autopsy, body picked up, and sent away. And then the autopsy results were in question, right? And this is where they say, wait a minute, he wasn't killed. He must have killed himself, because if he killed himself, then this bone in his neck wouldn't have broken, at least most of the time. But if he was killed, then that would be how you break this neck. So, for example, if you kill yourself, you typically, if you hang yourself, you typically break these bones. But if somebody strangles you to death, then different bones are broken, right? Typically. But it could happen. It could still happen. You could hang yourself and possibly break those bones, and somebody could strangle you and possibly break other bones. So there's some questions around the initial controversy, right? And that autopsy may have been planned to say, hey, here's the autopsy, we finished it, and the body's gone, and we can't do any more examination of it. And now here's the little bit of controversy when it comes to the autopsy, right? And Jeffrey Epstein, notorious pedophile, possibly worked for intelligence services, just like Alexander Acosta, I think, or Jim Acosta, whatever his name is. He was the guy that gave Epstein initially a light sentence. He later became Trump's Department of I forget what department it was. Anyway, it's not important. But he became a member of the Trump administration cabinet, and then it came out that he gave Epstein a light sentence, so he resigned, right? It was part of a prosecutor plea agreement. A lot of you know this stuff, so I don't want to go into it in too much detail. But a newspaper article, mainstream newspaper article, said that Acosta said he gave Epstein a light sentence because he, quote unquote, belonged to intelligence. Belonged to intelligence. That's what the newspaper article or magazine article reported about why he was given such a light sentence. Why did the prosecutor decide not to charge him more and give him a tougher sentence and make him stay in jail for longer and a rougher jail, as opposed to white collar prison, not that harsh of a prison, and let him leave with his own paid for cops and to join him so that he could leave during the day and work at his office or do whatever, and then come back at night and sleep in the jail for like a year and a half before he was let out and let free and allowed to continue doing evil super rich guy pedophile things for him and his evil super rich guy pedophile friends, right? So it belonged to intelligence, may have been running a blackmail operation for the Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service, or the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, American Secret Service, or whoever, right? Compromising politicians, getting them to sleep with young girls, getting it on film, having them blackmailed, having them controlled. That's what Epstein supposedly, in the general understanding of it, was up to, right? And the mainstream media was promoting the mystery of, did he kill himself or was he killed? Did he kill himself or was he killed? That was on the mainstream media. It was on Fox News, mainstream news, and so on. The independent media also, they weren't talking about he might be still alive. If you say he's still alive, you're crazy. So we have to talk about, because people would peer pressure each other. No, not still alive. That's crazy. Even though the photos came out and the bodies seemed different, the ear photo seemed different when it comes to Epstein. People are studying that. All of that, I think, is a ruse. I think it's a trap. I think those are things meant to hook us in to deciding, did he or did he not kill himself? He's definitely dead, but did he kill himself or was he murdered? More than likely murdered, but possibly killed himself. That's where the debate is. Whereas I'm arguing, and I've got the arguments, coming forward in this video, that he's probably still alive, and I'll explain exactly why and why they would pull a scam like this. But I just want to make it clear, the mainstream media was talking about it the same way, right? The independent media, alternative media, Infowars.com, the sort of grandfather of most of alternative media now. They've been around for 20, 25 years. Alex Jones and his team of 100 people in Austin, Texas. Even they were like, well, we don't want to be weirdos and say he might still be alive, right? We're going to say, there's no way he killed himself. He must have been killed. Probably Hillary Clinton. You'd heard of the Clinton body count and all that sort of thing. And all over the place, right? To this day, right? And even celebrities like Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes saying, no, just like Epstein didn't kill himself. Now, I know he's a friend of yours. I don't care. Stop groaning over that, right? Now, I saw an interview with Ricky Gervais before he hosted the Golden Globes, where he talked about his fifth and final time hosting the Golden Globe Awards, right? And he said that he went over his monologue, his opening monologue, with all these jokes about celebrities and corporations and so on, and Epstein and so on. He went over that monologue with the Golden Globes producers, right? It's a big award show, very important, blah, 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 and so on. And he's still a Hollywood celebrity. It's not like he never wants to work again. And it's not like, in some cases, even though he's a very popular comedian, they may not let him host if he wasn't going to tell them what he was going to say, right? Or they could just shut off his job opportunities. And he literally said, no, I told him what my speech is going to be. It's the last time I'm hosting it. It's pretty edgy, but it's all in good fun. Have a laugh. We're all going to die one day, so you should be able to take a joke. So I saw him say that in an entertainment story interview before he hosted the Golden Globes and cracked the Epstein didn't kill himself joke, right, at the Golden Globes in front of all these celebrities international television audience, and so on. So that's a little suspicious, but that's not, the end all be all. Okay, so let's get to why is he still alive? Why would he still be alive, right? So here's the first point. Pedophiles run the world. Pedophiles run the world, right? It's awful news, horrible news. If you don't believe me, look up a Paul Joseph Watson video. Good looking, charming, well spoken, talented, creative Brit. Works for Infowars.com and has his own Summit.news website and makes brilliant videos, carefully crafted, with him talking plus other clips and funny things or whatever, fairly short, makes brilliant videos. And you can look for Paul Joseph Watson's video as an example to show that pedophiles run the world, where he talks about the United Nations, all their sex trafficking. A lot of the UN soldiers and UN workers go to third world countries, are supposed to be helping, end up involved in molesting a lot of the local kids or shipping them out of countries for human trafficking purposes to sell to pedophiles in the US and Europe and other places, right? A lot of world leaders, a lot of politicians, and he backs it up. He's not just saying it. There's a lot of mainstream news sources, independent news sources. In fact, excuse me, sorry, no allegory, but but a lot of news that's reported but not repeated is more likely truth. And that's what a lot of the independent media picks up on, where a lot of news that's reported everywhere is more likely propaganda. So with the resources of the mainstream media and some good people in there who want to do good work, they sometimes do. And the independent media picks up on that work, and that makes up a lot of their work because they don't have the same resources and expertise and ability to get their phone calls returned and ability to have the money to send out investigative reporters to go do this, that, and the other, and so on. Some do, and some do great independent work on their own, no doubt about that. But a lot of the independent media is built up on news that's reported but not repeated, that's more likely truth, as opposed to news that's blasted everywhere, that's more likely propaganda. Even Infowars.com, a lot of their stuff does that. Or they'll take certain parts of articles where the mainstream media will publish an article or a news story and they'll hide the most important part deep in the article as opposed to making it the headline. Everybody should know this. So this is verified, right, by the fact that all this is out there and by the fact that people don't do a lot about this, right? People do not do a lot about the pedophile epidemic going on out there. People are aware of it in many cases, but there isn't a lot of action taken on it by world leaders, politicians, mainstream media, in some cases a lot of independent media. There just isn't that much about it, even though this is our kids and this is the worst thing in the world, right? The fact that there's a lot of control over that shows you how pedophiles are obviously in charge and they don't want people all worked up about pedophilia. In fact, they're now normalizing pedophilia in many ways by sexualizing children, promoting the LGBT pedo agenda, right? Teaching little kids more and more about sex like pedophiles do, introducing them to sexual information to soften them up for pedophiles. And frankly, I've known some people who've been molested. I've dated a couple of girls that have gone through these things. It's bad. It's awful. Worst thing in the world, right? But it's even worse to do the trans kid thing, right? Because you can recover from being molested. You can't recover from having your growth stunted with puberty blocking hormones that don't allow your body or your brain to develop, right? That make you infertile, that don't allow you to have kids again. Or by chopping off your wiener or chopping off a little girl's boobies, right? So if you were molested as a kid, right, and a lot of people have been, you can possibly recover from that a lot easier than you can if your parents or activists or others who are brainwashed and the kid is brainwashed, turn your kid into a trans kid. So that's even worse than being a pedophile, doing that to a kid. And there's lots of good sources on this. You can see acpeds.org, the American College of Pediatricians. They are a group of 500 U.S. pediatricians coming out against the trans kid issue. You can see sexchangeregret.com, Walt Heyer, Heyer's a great website where he's a guy who went trans. You know, he was molested as a kid and confused as a kid. Grandma put him in a dress. He grew up to be a good guy, right? And he is a good guy. You can tell he's a good guy, but he was confused, didn't get therapy, didn't get this and that. Had his college sweetheart, said, I still have these thoughts. She said, let's get married anyway. Once we have a family and kids, those thoughts should go away, but they didn't. So he left his wife and kids, had the sex change surgery, lived as a woman for 8 years, didn't make him happy, not being comfortable in his own skin, always worried about, being how he was doing in his new sort of surgically enhanced girly body, and not not being straight up with people, not knowing if people are being straight up with him, and losing the initial support from the trans community, which you get when you're a new trans person. The first year or so, they're blowing smoke up your ass, calling you beautiful, and then after that, you're sort of on your own, and you're a little depressed about what you're doing. And there's a 40% attempted suicide rate in the trans community among a study by the trans community of 27,000 plus transgenders in the US, with these people trying to help them. And there's also massive suicide rates. And it's not because other people treat them bad, because if you're any good at it, most people don't notice. And if you're nice, most people don't care. They don't treat you especially badly. However, if you're never comfortable in your own skin, you're never comfortable with others, others are never comfortable with you, that leads to some suicidal behavior. And that's actually being sort of pushed, across the board to everybody, to make everybody uncomfortable with each other, as we can't be nice, polite ladies and gents teaching kids to be, and then LGBTQ can fit into that paradigm and be good at being nice ladies and gents after a fashion too, right? But the point is that there's not a lot of pushback on the pedophile issue or the trans issue. And if you do try and push back on it, you are the bad guy. I might get, be seen as a bad guy for this, right? Because you cut your kid's arm off, you go to jail. You cut your kid's wiener or boobies off, and you're a hero. It's crazy. But that's how I lost my last YouTube channel with 1,000 subscribers, because I spoke on this issue and I got 3 strikes on my YouTube channel within 8 minutes, according to the time-stamped emails. 1, 2, 3, gone, right? Because of this issue. And I had a Tucker Carlson show, a Tucker Carlson, Fox News, Tucker Carlson clip, 4 minutes with Michelle Cretella, Dr. Michelle Cretella from the American College of Pediatricians, a real pediatrician with 500 others, on this issue saying this is a bad idea. That strike gone. My own comments on it, gone. Another one, gone. And I'm not against it. I'm trying to help kids, trying to help people. It's not against anybody. But this is a super duper important issue for them, because it screws us up and it screws kids up, which means the next generation is screwed up and easier for them to control. Plus, the normalization of pedophilia, it weakens everybody. When we all accept it, then that's how societies are destroyed historically. You can see other examples in history where when people are okay with people where they live having sex with kids, then the whole place goes to crap, right? You don't care about yourself, other people don't care about you. If you don't care about the kids, obviously, and then the whole place is a mess, and all these victims are easier to control. So, I want to make that clear in terms of sort of what the agenda is of these pedos, right? Now, I'll tell you why he's still alive, right? If you're still with me, then this is the key here at the end, right? The globalists, super rich people, central banking mafias, and others, old moneyed elites, royal family, or whatever, right? Or the deep state, etc., the sort of hidden bureaucracy behind the government that stays there no matter what the political leaders are, and really kind of runs the show and tells the leaders what to do. Like if you get a new president or prime minister and you're like, hey, I just got the job, then the head of the Department of Agriculture or head of the Department of Defense or head of the, whatever, they come to you and they say, hello, sir, glad you're our new president or prime minister. Here's what the deal is. We've got the knowledge, we've got the intel, and this is what you should do. Okay, fair enough. I'll sign that. Good enough, right? Because those people stick around, right? But all of them, right, they work like the Freemasons do, right? The Freemasons, not really free, really trapped in a bitchy, kiss the ass of people above you system, where we won't tell you this until you do this, we won't tell you this till you do this, and blah, 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 whatever. So it's kind of, it's not really Freemasons, but whatever. but they all work like Freemasons do, right? And what I mean is they put proof that they're in charge everywhere in front of everybody, right? They put proof that they're in charge everywhere in front of everybody. For example, literally a 20-minute walk from where I am, near Yonge College in downtown Toronto, just a half a block east or a block west of Yonge College in downtown Toronto, Canada, is Toronto Police Services headquarters. Now, at Toronto Police Services headquarters, there are 3 Freemasonic statues there. One in the back has a man standing with bricks and books on his shoulders, right? One on one corner, the northwest corner, has a little boy pulling a trolley with a giant obelisk, a giant 20-foot tall obelisk. Sort of looks like the Washington Monument, right? A long thing with a little pyramid at the top, a long kind of skinny with squared on the sides, structure. And it's a little boy pulling a trolley holding that. And then right in front of Toronto Police Services headquarters, there is a Freemasonic statue of a hermaphrodite police officer finishing off a pyramid. There's a pyramid of gray bricks, and there's kind of like a dark bronze statue of a hermaphrodite police officer leaning forward with a trowel, a thing you use to scoop cement to put the bricks together, right? And a little bit of, cement on the trowel, right? And he's leaning forward and he's sticking his butt out and he's finishing off the last couple of bricks of the pyramid. There's a couple of bricks on the ground beside him, beside the statue, him or her. When I say hermaphrodite statue, I mean, if you look at this statue, it's not quite a guy, it's not quite a girl, right? If you're going to make a statue of a cop, you're like, this is an archetypal statue. I'm not talking about the average person that's a cop. I'm talking about a statue of a cop, right? You'd probably make him like a statue of a soldier or whatever. You'd make him look pretty badass, like Batman or Superman. Broad shoulders, right? Slim waist, strong, this and that. Here, this is a statue, archetypal statue of a police officer, right? Badass police officer. Broad-shouldered, this and that. This is why we made a statue. Make him look cool, right? But this statue doesn't look like that. This statue has, on this police officer leaning forward, this statue has male-ish, female-ish features, longish hair, longish sideburns and longish hair all the way to the collar. It's got a slim torso, slim arms, very, very skinny, slim arms and tiny, relatively tiny hands, and a slim torso and slim waist, and thick, bubbly legs and butt. So it could be a guy, there's no boobs there, but it could also be a CrossFit chick who's, guys work out, get bigger. A lot of times girls work out and get smaller. They get kind of a leaner upper body and thicker legs because men's and women's legs are more equivalent in size and strength, whereas upper body strength when it comes to males is a lot more than females naturally as part of our genetics, part of our DNA and so on. And yet with this statue, it's a hermaphrodite statue of a police officer finishing a pyramid, right? And I've done some videos on it and so on. But if you look online, you can hardly find any information about it. There's almost no information about it. And if you try and talk to people about this sort of thing, they just kind of spaz out, Fritz or whatever. And there's lots of other examples around the world of the Freemasons putting their Freemason house over there where they go to meet, Freemason church, whatever. Freemason symbols on government buildings. You can see on the government building, oh, it's a Freemason symbol. You've got, ancient Egyptian symbols and other Freemason symbols that are on. You've got the Shriners Parade and so on, right? So they put this stuff in front of everybody, and yet either nobody can see it or almost nobody can see it, and almost nobody can discuss it. And this proves how powerful they are and that they're in charge and that you should trust them, right? So if I join the Freemasons and they're like, okay, so this is cool, we're a band of brothers and we're all, together, but don't say anything about what we do or you'll be in big trouble, and so on. And don't worry about people they don't know. And I might be kind of worried. I'm like, well, I don't know, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So it's tough to escape because if you escape and say, I'm escaping from the Freemasons, they want to kill me. And people go, no, come on, what are you talking about? They're just Shriners with funny hats. They try and do some good charity work. It's just some guys who get together. Maybe they help each other out in business. Maybe they give each other bank loans. Maybe some of the secret society stuff is true, where they've got the funky handshakes and they do the certain things like this and that. And if you're in court and the judge is there and you're like, Your Honor, I know I did this crime, but I ask for the mercy of the court. And they do their Freemason symbol, hand inside their vest or whatever. And the judge goes, oh, a fellow Mason. Well, I could give you up to 5 years, but let's give you 2 years less a day. Plus time served. You know what? You'll be out in a couple of months. Whatever, right? Those things go on. But to prove to their members that they're in charge, they don't just hide from the world. They put evidence of what they're up to in front of the whole world. And they say, see, we put evidence of who we are and the type of power we have in front of everybody. And they won't say or do shit. That is what I think the Jeffrey Epstein case is I think they took the world's most prominent pedophile, and they arrested him. And the whole world wanted this guy to go on trial, have to answer questions from Virginia Giuffre, one of his victims, and many other of his victims, answer questions about Prince Andrew of the British royal family, answer questions about Bill Clinton flying on Epstein's private jet over 26 times, right? Answer questions about his pedophile island, face his accusers, dozens and dozens of teenage girls who were trapped by Epstein and started off by massaging him for money, and then were tricked and coerced and forced into prostitution for his friends, so that he could film it and blackmail them, supposedly. Have all the evidence of those videotapes and DVDs and so on, so we could see all of Epstein's friends. It's like, okay, so this guy trafficked with the rich and powerful. He knew Bill Gates. He knew Bill Clinton. He knew a lot of people in Hollywood. He had a ton of Hollywood friends, as Ricky Gervais joked about at the Golden Globes. Excuse me. No allegory. Ricky Gervais joked about Epstein having tons of Hollywood friends and so on. So he's a very popular guy. So this guy, the whole world was waiting for this guy to be put on trial, have to answer questions, and hopefully prosecuting him could give the victims some closure and take out other pedophiles, the whole network of pedophiles, right? Maybe you'll have Bill Clinton taken out by this, with the Clinton body count. And Clinton can be pretty evil. He's also an accused rapist, incredibly accused rapist himself, right? Maybe you'll have members of the Hollywood elite, people like Harvey Weinstein and others, right? Maybe you'll have Bill Gates implicated. Maybe you'll have the owner of Victoria's Secret, who gave Epstein his $77 million house in New York City, still owns Victoria's Secret, right? Still a multi-billionaire who owns Victoria's Secret. Maybe he'll get, maybe all the people that came to his parties, maybe all of them will get taken down by taking out Jeffrey Epstein. And what happened? Well, he either killed himself or he was killed. Or, the third possibility, they went through this whole exercise in front of the entire world, including people on the outside, Joe and Jane Public, and people on the inside, the pedophile conspiracy. And they said, hey guys, trust us. We're still under control. Don't you start switching on us. Don't you start working with Trump as nationalists against globalism. Don't you start saying we're not going to ship everything over to China and destroy the West. Don't you go against that agenda, right? We're still in charge. We're still, the pedophile elite of the world are still in charge. You know how we're going to show you we're in charge? We're going to take this pedophile. He could take down a huge international pedophile network of super rich evil people, you guys, and boom, this is what we'll do to him in front of the whole world. And all they'll be arguing about is, did he kill himself or not? And Attorney General William Barr, U.S. Attorney General William Barr, will come out with a strong statement. Well, this is really bad. We've got to investigate. And then do almost nothing, right? And when it comes to his pedophile island, drones and independent reporters went to visit that island, before the FBI did. before the FBI and other US law enforcement did, right? They had him in jail. They knew he was a pedophile. There was tons of people coming out, and they just didn't touch the island. So what could they do? They could clean up the island. They could burn or bury or destroy or whatever all the videotapes that he supposedly had blackmailing rich and powerful people for different intelligence agencies and groups that want to control them, right? They could destroy all that evidence. He supposedly had a giant cement truck express shipped to his island before he was arrested, right? There's news stories out there about that, where he had this giant cement truck shipped to his pedophile island in the Caribbean. So if there was bodies there or whatever other evidence there, they could bury all that stuff, cover it all in cement, destroy it, make it almost impossible to really truly identify it with all the cement there mixed in with everything, right? And really destroy all the evidence, right? So, all these things are happening when it comes to the Epstein case. And we're supposed to argue about whether he was killed or whether he killed himself, as opposed to realizing the magnitude of getting us to argue about this and the fact that he might still be alive. Plus, if you said he was alive, you were called crazy by the mainstream media and by the independent media, which proves to me that there's something fishy going on there. So yeah, like I said, finally, take himself. It's a perfect plan, right? If you want to say to all these, rich, evil pedophiles, Prince Andrew and the royal family, corporate CEOs, people that are into it, or people that were dragged and bribed into it, people that might come out and testify against it, people that might say, hey, no, wait a second, right? I actually want to come out against this plan, right? I'm a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I didn't really want to do this, but, they started hooking me with a little bit of, let's go out for a drink. Hey, you want to do some cocaine? Hey, you want to have sex with that grown-up woman hooker? Hey, let's get you drunk and let's put you in bed with a little kid and get you to have sex with them. And hey, buddy, we got this on film. Now you work for us, right? Now, what if they want to come out and they want to say, they want to fight against this agenda? Well, what happens if you fight against this agenda? This is what happens. That's how much power and how much control they have. They could do this to Jeffrey Epstein in front of the world, and we don't realize that he might still be alive. He might be in Thailand somewhere having sex with underage girls. He might be in Israel. He might be in Russia. He might be hanging out with Hitler in Brazil, playing soccer with Hitler's brain or whatever. Like there's theories about the Germans going over to Brazil after World War II and not dying. And that's speculation to my knowledge. Might be more to it than that. But the point is, that's why I think he's probably still alive. It's a giant game on the world where they can take the mainstream media, say, you start speculating about whether he killed himself or he's still alive. Independent media, see, they're all speculating about that, or whether he was killed or whether he killed himself. Independent media, whether he was killed or whether he killed himself. Meanwhile, the real trick, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled, was convincing the world he didn't exist from the usual suspects, right? The people stage managing this process are showing the people who work for them how much power they have. So don't go against us. If we're heads of intelligence, if we're heads of Freemasonry, if we're old moneyed elites, right? And you're lower than us, if you're members of the Council on Foreign Relations or the Royal Institute for International Affairs or the Canadian Council of Chief Executives or all these elite think tanks out there, don't worry about it. We got this covered, right? And even if you are involved in that stuff, don't worry, we got this covered. Even if there are dozens and dozens of victims, in Florida and across the U.S., right? Lots of girls coming forward. Even if you still have Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate, we're not going to go after her. We're just going to let, even after you die or after you die, we're not going to go after her very much. And even though the U.S. Attorney General and Justice Department will talk tough about this, they're not going to do very much. Even though Trump will be pissed off about this, he's got people around him. I don't know if he's good or bad on this issue. I'm assuming he's a decent guy based on a lot of the things he's done, but he's not going to do much. So don't worry. Giant pedophile cabal, we got this under control. So we're good, right? So that's why I think Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. And there you have it. Could go into that in more detail, but I think with what I've gone through, you can take all the information you know about this case, and you can see if it kind of lines up with some of this thinking. Otherwise, to end off, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with questions, answers, interview requests to work together, or financial support. All of that is greatly appreciated to grow this channel, to grow these efforts, and to get the offline info war going in a really meaningful way as a great complement to the online info war. And yeah, otherwise, Black Krishna or BK for manfowars.com. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.